Alright, so I'm deciding to record this video even though there's like laughter outside my door, which I honestly don't mind. I think it kind of adds a nice aspect to what I want to talk about because I actually want to remember this day. Not to say that I'm not going to remember this day, but just because the topic is important and I'm gonna name it. I'm gonna name it, and not out of shade, but I'm gonna name it the comment that was said. I'm not gonna go into depth about everything, but I just think it's something important for me to, I guess, remember because it's never gonna stop showing up. So, this will be named, or actually, I don't know, maybe I should say the phrase, but say it as a way of me accepting that, and in a way accepting what they meant when they said it. But I need to update on a lot of things. I did start my internship and that's been going okay. I will say that when it comes to internships, I guess specifically for what I'm going into, because everybody is kind of solidified in their tasks or in their positions of what they need to do, although they have taken on internships with where I'm at, it could use some policy. It could use some polishing, and I'm not the one that said it, but I was the one that felt it, or I was the one that was experiencing that need. It was actually said by one of the employees there that I was able to shadow earlier in the week. Goodness gracious. But yeah, it could use some polishing. It could use some organization or some defining of what to give the interns when so right now I'm lighting an incense, and it's probably gonna break before I even am able to show it. Nope, actually, it's not. That right there is the ash, or whatever you want to call it, the residue of the incense. And it just scared me because it rolled down off of the thing. It's on top of the thing, and it rolled down like it was a freaking bug. But it's not. So, visceral response. But as I was saying, it could use, and if you're wondering what we're doing, what you were doing in this video, and anybody else who's like, why does she keep looking down? Other than me talking and not really giving the camera that much eye contact. But as I watch my videos, I see how slowly but surely I am getting better at just giving you that eye contact. Damn, you so close to the camera. I'm playing with lead. So yeah. Ooh, you know what I can make this into? A paint and talk. But that means I have to prep. Oh, this was the outfit to that event that I went to today. I've been eating real good. But in addition to eating real good, I've been bloating. Not embarrassed of that fact, but just saying. I notice it more as of late. But then again, I am close to that time, so that makes sense that that's the case. But yes, one of the employees said that the program could use some polishing, and I think that they need to define what tasks they will need help with that they can give to their interns when they haven't gone through the training that they need to go through to do the things that they're intending to do, or to learn the things that they were intending to learn in the first place. So yeah, that's been that for this week for that. Now to what we're naming this. I am naming it, yes, you are like a shadow. And I'm going to put the diamond, or like the little sparkly star, as the title. Because I would like to claim it. I would like to claim the energy and claim the intention that I could not claim in the moment, because it caused me to reflect on an insecurity. Yeah. It caused me to see myself in a way that I hadn't seen myself as of late. It caused me to see the me that I haven't really been seeing lately, which I'm just going to say that's just a thing. It just exists. I'm not going to say that that's a good or a bad thing. It just is. So yeah, I think I really did need that reflection, because it reminded me of all that is in me. I'm not going to necessarily say all that is me. I'm just going to say all that has made me, or all that is in me, like I said. And in the same way that you have your light, you have your dark. In the same way that you have, I guess we can call it higher self, you have your shadow self. These two things, although this self, the shadow self, it's home to those aspects that we often don't want to claim. We often don't want to really acknowledge. We often also don't really see the protective aspects of those things. It really isn't until you start listening more, or you're exposed to information that talks about these things, or talks about different ways to actually see your shadow. It isn't until you do those things, or perhaps you just go through the work yourself, that you realize this is not the bad me. So I'm holding these two up high, right? Shadow. This is not the bad thing. It's not. This is, you've lived and you've experienced and you've responded and you've created habits, and those habits have circled you. Now, you have some things that stay in the shadow. You have some parts of yourself that are more hidden. And then you have the things that are right in front of your face. Although sometimes we're just living and we're going day by day. So even if these things are so-called straight in your face, it's not necessarily something that you remember. And I guess that when I'm saying this, I'm speaking from my own experience, but I feel that any and everybody can relate to what I'm saying right now. So yeah, we can be in places where we don't see that aspect of ourselves as worth integrating. I think I was that way for like a really long time. Not seeing it worth integrating, but also that comes with my own relationship with shame. And I imagine that it's that way for other people. Shame, guilt, grief, resentment, all those less pleasant or unpleasant, because that's the word, right? Those unpleasant emotions that one feels. But kind of like what that discussion went or involved tonight, those are the things that make you realize who you are and who you can be. And when you fail to realize who you can be or who you are, when you fail to acknowledge that that's a part of you, when you fail to acknowledge that any aspect that you emit is a part of you, or something that you feel is a part of you, it can be detrimental. I always think of it as you denying a part of yourself. Like denying a wound. Like if you were to deny a wound, an open wound, deny that it even exists, deny its needs, deny it care, acknowledgement, restoration, like these things build up. Our wounds build up. And for me, like tonight, a wound, because I would call insecurity a wound. I would. It's a different kind of wound, but I would call it a wound. And I reacclimated with that wound. I had to see it, I had to feel it, and then I had to speak through it. And I don't say had to as in it was forced, but I'm saying when you've come to a point where you've made it your goal to go about things in a different way or integrate a way of communicating in a way that maybe you've never really grown up with, when you make it your mission to do that, or you've recognized that that's needed for you, that that's a need for you, that's not just the want, it's a need. When you recognize that and then you're confronted with it, you are given the ability to exercise that, to own your part in receiving what you need or in attempting to receive what you need. When you are given that ability and the space to do so, and it's different from what you usually receive, or it's different from the space that you grew in, best believe it's always gonna feel like a test, or the mental gymnastics that comes with that comes in the moment before, or perhaps I should say the start, but I'm going to say before because there's a contrast. Before the situation happened, you were feeling some type of way. At the beginning, or at the start, okay, then you have during, then you have after. I think my after has been very essential, very important, and very transformative. I think using my voice with those that, or just using my voice more, is very beneficial to me. I think it allows me to take up space more than what I've done before. And I think that using that space with the people around me that I've grown extremely comfortable with, and that honestly I feel safe to do so with, has helped me a lot too. Which is why I say I accept the intention, just like I said in the conversation, because basically what was said today, because I actually don't want to tell the story. I want to keep that to myself a little bit. But the context applies. The context is literally that of one's shadow. But I will say, today, and the situation around it kind of added to it, the context added to it. I will not be explaining the context. I'm just going to say what was said. You're like a shadow. However, the perspective of the person and the intentions of the person giving me that sharing that phrase with me, sharing a phrase that they thought of me in that moment. Yeah, that's the way to put it. I did not take it in the way that they took it, but that makes sense. People end up on different pages all the time, but also you never really know fully what someone means unless they explain it to you. And in this situation, I did not know until it was said to me, and it was expressed to me that it wasn't intended to make me feel unwanted or as if I ruined the mood that we were in before everything happened. And if anything, it's this person trying to push me to growth that I myself want as well. But in that moment, I just did not want to do that. Or in that moment, I didn't want to push through due to my relationship with pushing through in the past and how my relationship becomes with myself when I do that, because of the after effects of me just pushing through. Which, sure, when you're uncomfortable and you expose yourself to that with which you that makes you feel uncomfortable, or that you feel uncomfortable, and when you push yourself to be in spaces that you feel less comfortable in, it helps you to grow and to become comfortable being in those spaces. And that is what was intended. However, I did not know the train of thought. When you're just in the moment, like everything is just, it's just happening, you know? So I didn't know that, but we communicated very well about our thoughts with that, and then backstories, and it was a very in-depth conversation where I was able to share myself or translate myself, and they were able to translate themselves and translate their thoughts and their feelings towards the situation. And there was relatability was there, connection was there. And it's like, you have these situations where you can trying to think of how to put it. Like, you go through a situation where perhaps your actions in the moment, when something occurs and your reaction or your feelings towards it in the moment have an effect on just your state in that moment. Time goes on, and then after that right there, although it was uncomfortable or it was tense, it opened up connection, or it opened up vulnerability. And I think I need more moments like that. I think I benefit very well from moments like that. I think that I benefit very well from using my voice in moments like that. I think that is something that fuels me, and not in a energy vampire kind of way. Just in a, I would hope that it's mutual. Yeah. I would hope that it's mutual for everybody that was there. And anybody that's listening. That moments of hardship, we say it all the time, but it's like, do we reflect on it all the time? Perhaps not. Do we really talk about how those moments mean everything to a relationship, to your relationship to yourself? And when I say to the relationship, I mean whoever you're having those conversations with. To the relationships, to your relationship with yourself, to your relationship with the topic of conversation, to your growth. All of those things. I'm not sure that goes talked about. What is that? Is that from the pencil? And why are you... Girl. I'm gonna leave that there, actually. We're gonna see if that, we're gonna try to shape it. But those moments mean everything. And I think it would be nice to hear people reflect on that. Reflect on your reflection. Are you reflecting on those moments? How do you feel about those moments? How do you think those moments shape other moments? Future moments? How is your brain chemistry affected? How are you thinking now? Are you adjusting how you're thinking about things now? Has your perspective expanded? Those are types of conversations that I think, for me, I enjoy listening to or being a part of. And that's funny, because look at where we're at with communication now. Even though we have more ways to improve, look at you. I think that's very important. I think that in the same breath of acknowledging that you have places, you have aspects with which you need to grow in, I think it's very important to acknowledge when you've grown, to acknowledge when you've improved, to compare and contrast yourself. Because let's use that one phrase, it's you against you. It's you versus you. In a non-egotistic way, you can't compete with me because I'm competing with myself. Everybody is competing with themselves. The competition is different for the different stages of self that you're competing with, though. That's what I think. Because if we think about it like, okay, current me competing with little me, I'm not sure that's really a competition. I think that's more of an act of compassion. It's acknowledgement of little me. I think the goal is different for every aspect of self that you would have to go through, and that you would have to go through and acknowledge, because everything that you experienced has had some type of effect on you. Perhaps the effect was passive, but an effect for sure. A change, a tweak. Perhaps it was on a subconscious level, or it's one of the more conscious changes that have made you you. But every different level of self requires a different level of competition or comparance. Is that a word? Let me know. Somebody let me know. Is that I think it's a word. If it's not, well, okay. You know what I mean. But yeah. We're all in competition with ourselves. Don't take your competition so seriously, though. And it's not to say to not take it seriously. Don't obsess over the competition with self. Don't there's a way that I want to put this, but I'm not sure how to articulate it. You wouldn't want to be of harm or cause harm to the relationship that you have with yourself because of over obsessing over comparing current self to past self. You don't want to hyper focus on that. There has to be a mixture of presence, but actively doing things to get to where you want to be. I'm going to say what she said. I'm not going to name, even though, yeah, I'm not going to name. Balance. Everybody in some way, shape, or form has struggled with balance before. It's different for everyone. Perhaps it's not balance of self, but it's balance of responsibilities, which honestly includes self as well. But that's a less, you know what? No, I disagree with that. Because I was going to say that's a less internal aspect or example. However, it is internal and it is external. It's a mixture of both, right? Oh, right. Balance. It requires that. It requires you to consider yourself and be honest with yourself. It requires you to face yourself. A lot of things require you to face yourself. Funny thing is, not really sure we do that. I know for me tonight, I hadn't faced that aspect of myself in a while. I think one of my favorite qualities of self, though, is my ability to think before I speak. For the most part. I'm not perfect. So that's why I say for the most part. You're going to say things that you intend in one way, quite like what happened tonight, but I was not on the other end, but I also was not on the other end. Like, I had my role in the situation too, And it's like one of those things where you just recognize that you can go through things in such more polished ways, more acting from love ways. Although not everyone is, there's a word for that, deserving of that. That's not to be confused with not everyone is deserving of love. It's your love, like who you give your energy to. That's your decision, and that matters for you and them. So that's a decision that you have to make, and you have to make it wisely. That's what I'm saying with that. But I hope somebody knows what I was getting to with that last one, because guess what? My train of thought has been lost. But this video is quite long, and I kind of expected it to be. So before I close out, I want to list out some things that I could talk about. I made this in the summer when I first started this, before I first started this channel. So in this video, I'm gonna list out a few. I was gonna say every single one, but girl, you gotta leave some things for surprise. Not just for people that are gonna see this, but for myself too. So yeah. So one prompt, and I did it in prompts because I was just thinking and I was literally just flowing. So a lot of this, I don't know how many I'm about to name off, but just know the list is long, and this low-key eats. Like if it was cleaner, Beauty Mark. Okay. Shapeshifter. I'm Not Who I Was Yesterday. Etymology. The Road to Sensations. Indulge in. A Letter to Effort. Standards of Living. Ugly Was Beautiful Too. Stimulants and depressants. Admiration of Others. I feel like that's been integrated into some of my more recent videos. Like I feel like that's something that I've integrated into these videos, or into the things that I talk about seamlessly. But like I put on here, I would intend to make that the whole video, or the primary topic of the video. Wishing I Let Them In My World. I Hate Being Fake. Acknowledge Myself. Wanting to be taught and not learning the lesson. Okay, but that's not how it's meant. Okay, so I'm going to restate it in the way that I mean it. Wanting to be taught and not learning the lesson. What stage am I at in my metamorphosis? Abacus. Or Abassus. Honestly, it's two, but we're not even about to go into that. The Vedas. The clay that is me. Wow. The weather of the day. I don't wish for sunshine, nor do I wish for rain. Wow. Spirit, mind, emotions, body. Collectivism versus individualism, which is something that I've been talking about in my classes quite a bit. And honestly, that's what caused me to add it to the list. February 9th, I think. That list is way longer than all the things that I've said, all the things that I said. I wouldn't be surprised if some of those things have been mentioned in my other videos before, loosely mentioned or subtly mentioned. But yeah, those are topics that I would like to get to and talk about. And I would like to do research on some of these things, some of the more this is my I'm looking for the word. Pause. Take a moment with me. And when we don't find the word, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I haven't found the word, so I'm just going to continue talking. For those topics that call for more scientific evidence or just evidence in general, scientific or evidence of experience, sure, yeah, that works too. For the topics that call for that more, like right off the top, I think that is what I will do. I will just need to manage my time wisely to do that and to get the video out. I don't have anything else to say. So, goodbye, guys. Goodbye, me.